Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this special Mother's Day Live featuring two of our amazing Women Heart champions, mother-daughter pair Kina and Queen Lucombe. My name is Sarah Hendricks. I'm the Senior Programs Associate here at WomenHeart, and I'm really glad to be a part of this conversation today. A little bit of background for those who may be new to WomenHeart. WomenHeart is the leading national patient-centered organization solely focused on supporting, educating, and advocating for women living with or at risk for heart disease. And as we recognize Mother's Day and honor our mothers and their stories, we wanted to take some time to reflect on the experiences that shape women and the families navigating heart disease. And so today, Kina and Queen are joining us from Florida. We're incredibly fortunate to have both of them as a part of the Women Heart community. And to share a little bit more background before we get into our questions, Kina became a Women Heart champion in 2024, and Queen joined us 1 year later in 2025. And since then, they've really become deeply involved in this work as champions, as members of the Women Heart Collaborative, and in leaders within their own organization, Hearts of Valor. We're really so grateful to have them with us today and really excited to hear more about your journey together. And so without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Our very first question for you is really, would you take a minute to please introduce yourselves and share a little bit more about your connection to Women Heart?
Sure. So my name is Kina Lucombe, and as Sarah said, I reside here in Tampa, Florida. I am a registered nurse. I'm also a heart patient. I became a heart patient back in 2019. I've been a registered nurse for 24 years, and this is my daughter, Queen.
My name is Queen. I also live in Tampa, Florida. I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I work with children with autism, and I also have a heart condition.
Awesome. And since we're coming together the day after Mother's Day, I'd love to start by asking you all what did Mother's Day mean to you this year, and how did you spend it together?
Oh, wow. I'll start. Mother's Day means a lot to me. It's very special. I have 4 children, and just to have everyone come together and celebrate was amazing. I'm very happy to be here because, as I stated before, I'm a heart patient, and just the mere fact that I'm still here to celebrate it is amazing and special for me.
I obviously, Mother's Day is really special to me as well because I am very close to my mom. I work very closely with my mom. This Mother's Day, I think, has been a little extra special because my brother's graduation was earlier in the week, so we had a lot of my younger cousins here, and they all got to celebrate Mother's Day with my mom because I think my mom is like that matriarch aunt in our family where all of my little cousins go to her for things, and she's the one where you can stay over her house, or if anyone graduates, she's buying the gifts and she's helping plan parties. So we have a great Mother's Day Sunday, and we all went out to dinner and got some of her favorite food, so it was really nice.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to your brother. Accomplishment. And I'm really glad that you guys got to spend so much time together as a family. I guess shifting the questions a little bit, would you both mind sharing your heart health journey and and I guess individually, what are your heart stories and your heart journeys? And then what was that experience like for your family as a whole?
Okay. Are you hearing me okay, Sarah?
I am now. Could you hear me?
Are you hearing me okay?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
You were going out just a little bit.
Oh, no. Let me restart our question then. I asked, would you mind sharing a little bit, each of you, about your heart health journeys and what that experience was like for your family as a whole?
Okay, I think you're asking to hear about our heart stories?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, sure. I'll start. So my heart journey started back in 2019 on Valentine's Day, actually, which happens to be my, well, at that time, it was my 21st wedding anniversary. I got up in the morning just like normal, do meditation and yoga, and I collapsed. I was found unresponsive, rushed to the hospital where I was found to be in complete heart block, electrical heart block. AV heart block is what it's the common term, atrioventricular heart block. And that's where your heart is not conducting. One chamber is not moving to the next as far as your signals. So it causes the heart to slow down and sometimes eventually stop. Thank God for me, mine was, it stopped beating early. But once I got the care that I needed, I was given an emergency pacemaker, and and survived it. And I've had the pacemaker now for 7 years, and I've been strong since then.
I would say a lot of my heart journey pretty much starts with my mom because I'm the oldest of the four. So when my mom had her event in 2019, my youngest two siblings were 11 and 2 years old. So that's kind of like where it had the greatest impact on me because I had to help out with my little siblings a lot more and, take over a lot of the care, especially for the 2 year old. And going on from that, she started Hearts of Valor, which is our local nonprofit organization. And so I became vice president of that, and I was working really closely with her. And all of this sort of before I even got my own diagnosis. So I probably wouldn't have even gotten diagnosed because I haven't had a major heart event. So I probably wouldn't have gotten the early intervention diagnosis if my mom wasn't already a heart health advocate and I wasn't already in these arenas with her, listening to people's stories. I've been to a couple of different WomenHeart events way before I became a champion. So that has had the greatest impact on me in getting my diagnosis. And so that is something that I focus on a lot in my advocacy is promoting prevention and early detection.
Wow, thank you. Thank you both for sharing your stories. And I think it's really special that not only do you have clearly a really special mother-daughter relationship, but you also work together within your organization, Hearts of Valor. I think that's it's just that it's a whole other kind of skill set of building a relationship. And so it's really impressive that you all have turned this familial experience into projects in your community. And so I guess another question for you specifically, Kina, what was it like navigating heart disease while also balancing being a mother?
It was challenging, primarily for me because I'm used to wearing the cape and doing what needs to be done. I'm not accustomed to asking people for help. In fact, I do want to plug WomenHeart because it was through joining WomenHeart that I actually came to terms with the fact that I am a heart patient. That was very hard for me to admit. It was hard for me to share. I was out in the community helping other heart patients. I didn't come to terms that I am a heart patient, not just an advocate, not just a nurse, but an actual heart patient. So I'm very grateful to WomenHeart for that. And it helped me to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be open. One of the hardest conversations I've had with my daughter is that, hey, if something happens and I don't survive, I really need you to step in and take over. And that was very difficult for me because she's young. She has the rest of her life. And so it's just been trial and error, but just learning to share, to admit when I'm tired, exhausted, drained, not feeling well, and just getting the care that I need. And just being honest with my children and having them get checked as well.
Thank you for your vulnerability in saying that. I think often we, as families, we have those types of conversations of, hey, if this happens, XYZ, or maybe you should also get checked out because it's happened to me. And we don't always talk about it because it's a more, I think, sensitive topics, but it's important to recognize those conversations and have the moments of vulnerability. And so thank you for highlighting that. And I guess along similar lines, what was it like to watch your daughter go through a similar journey of kind of coming to terms with being a heart disease patient?
Oh my goodness, that was difficult because I wanted all of my children to be checked, but of course I didn't want anything to be wrong with them or out of the ordinary. So how we found out with Queen is that I noticed that she would put the chair sometimes in front of the kitchen sink when she would do dishes. And I thought, like, you're too young for that, like, that's lazy. Put that chair away, stand up. And and so she shared with me that when she would go to department stores, sometimes she would have to sit on the floor for a while to kind of catch her breath and things like that. And I thought, oh no. And the nurse in me, and I'm actually a certified telemetry, which is a cardiovascular nurse. So as I'm hearing this, I'm like, no, 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 no. And so I said, well, Queen, you have to get checked. And so when she did, she caught it, and they caught it in time. It was just, she has arrhythmias. And so she was just encouraged to stay off the caffeine and just monitor, so she didn't have to get on any medications or any electrical devices like me. So we're just watching and monitoring. So it was difficult, but then at the same time, I was very, very happy that she got the care that she needed.
Right, right. And definitely in a more preventative stage, right? That's very important. And Queen, I guess the other side of the coin, what was it like for you watching your mom go through this experience? You touched on it a little bit at the beginning of our conversation, but yeah, could you tell us more?
Yeah, it was very destabilizing because, like I said, at the time, I think at that time I was only 18 and I'm the oldest. So all of my other siblings are like very young. And it kind of happened just like out of nowhere. Like I was working like a fast food job. I was literally a kid at the time, and I was on my way to work, and I found out that happened. And then by the time I had gotten off work, my mom was hospitalized. So it was just like out of the blue one day, and then it was like, okay, how I don't know, like how does that happen? Like you're just like fine one day, and then the next day, like 50% chance if you make it out of surgery.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just like, yeah, it was very destabilizing. And then my mom is also just like very involved. So like my mom homeschooled my younger siblings. And so it's like it's not something where like she can just, disappear or like have to step away for a couple weeks and nobody notices the difference. It's like, okay, what are we going to eat for dinner? Like, who's going to do my younger siblings' schooling? Like how are we supposed to keep the household functioning without my mom? And at the time I was also in college. So like I still have like my own stuff going on with school and everything. So it was very difficult to switch from like my mom kind of running everything in the household to like now she needs us to be her caretaker.
Right.
And then there's still, the kids that still need like they're to be taken care of as well. So yeah, I would say it's very like destabilizing.
Yeah. And if you feel comfortable sharing, that to me that sounds like, I mean, overwhelming, right? That you're working, you're in school, and then all of a sudden the roles of the household are shifting and your identities are shifting. And so if you feel comfortable sharing, how did you manage your mental health at that time?
Oh goodness.
Right, it's a heavy question, but you're doing so well now. I feel like the people would love to know how you got through it,
I don't think it was in like the healthiest way. I did kind of get into that space of like trauma dumping where like I was just like spilling out everything that was going on to people that were like, they were like acquaintances, but like they probably didn't need to hear all of that. I felt like I was just like overly emotional all the time around that time and like just venting a lot. Yeah. And then as like I still was working, I was still in school. I still needed like money because I was planning to like do study abroad and things like that. So we just had to keep going. And eventually I did go to therapy, but it was like years after. Yeah. The actual like everything was resolved. My mom was back healthy. We were running a nonprofit, and then I go to therapy.
It always turns out that
Like
way,
in the
right?
moment.
In the moment, you're and thinking about it, and then when everything is calm, it's like, oh yeah, I could go to therapy. It'll be added on. And I guess how also did you support each other throughout the journey? How did you lean on each other? Did you, I guess, and did you lean on each other and find support in your bond?
I think that was, I guess that's probably also how I got through it mental health wise, is like I focused a lot on my siblings, specifically my younger sister that was 2 years old at the time. I just kind of jumped in and started acting like her mom. And my mom had asked me before when she was having premonition that something was going to happen, but like all of her testing was coming back that she was fine. She had already like asked me like, if something happens to me, I need you to help raise your sister. Like, don't like just go off to college and leave her with your dad, because like she's a little girl, she's gonna need a woman in her life. So I just kind of like stepped in and started taking care of my little sister. I have all these like old Snapchat stories because I used to take my little sister everywhere with me and my friends. So we would go out to the mall, we would go out to eat, and it would be like a bunch of teenagers and then a toddler. And she just like became like ingrained in all of our like daily activities and lives.
That's so cute. I love that. I think that's so some of the most like I think the most fun memories that a lot of people have. I know that a lot of my fun memories are my cousins that are like 10 plus years older, because you also like feel so cool, right? To be able to hang out with your older sister and their friends and things. That's so special. And I guess our next questions are a little bit pivoting more towards your heart journey. And you mentioned it just now of the difficulty that you had kind of accessing that care to finally get diagnosed and get the care that you really needed. And were there times where either of you had to advocate or really push to be heard in the healthcare setting?
Oh, for sure. As Queen mentioned, I felt that something was wrong. Just being a nurse for so many years and not having symptoms the majority of my life, and then all of a sudden, to put on 30 pounds, to have shortness of breath going up the stairs, to have, just everything was slower. Um, and so I was going to the doctor. I was going, getting my regular checkups and just making sure that I was getting the care that I needed. And so it was almost coming across as anxiety, or I'm just worried, and not necessarily because my EKGs were coming back normal sinus rhythm. But I would always, I had an Apple Watch and my heart rate was in the 40s, and I'm thinking something's wrong. And so the last time I was I hired a trainer to help, because I'm thinking I've got to lose weight. Maybe that's why I'm short of breath. And I was working out with the trainer, and all of a sudden I felt like I was going to collapse on the treadmill. So I had to stop right away and go straight to the hospital. And when I got there, everything was fine. They did my EKG, it was normal. And so the doctor said to me at the time, "You have the heart rate of an athlete." So I thought, I'm about 30 pounds overweight at the time, but okay. And so I came home and I told my husband, and he said, "Sweetheart, you are a healthy person, but
I don't
that's
know."
pushing it. An athlete, a couple of days a week. That's about it, So I went back and I pushed, and I got a referral to a cardiologist, and so that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit, where they put a vest on me to take home, but it was the same thing where my EKG was normal. And so it was normal sinus rhythm. And that's the issue sometimes when you have a conduction problem, it doesn't always show up. And so just having to, push and push. And then, and being honest, part of me wanted to feel that I was okay. So even though I felt something was wrong, each time a provider would say, "You're good," I would push back a little, but part of me wanted to, feel, "Oh, I'm fine," And I would definitely encourage others to not do that. If you know something's wrong, get checked out, advocate for yourself, and because it was almost a little too late for me. Like I said, I was in complete heart block. There's 3 stages, so that means I missed the first stage, the second stage, and by the time I was ready to really full-fledged advocate, I'm needing a pacemaker to survive. So, yeah.
Wow. I think we definitely look for the kind of ease of mind of that, right? Of like you said, oh, nothing's wrong. Okay, good. I can calm down. Like I don't need to worry about this. But when it builds up and then becomes something even greater than that small worry at the time, I'm glad that you were able to get to the hospital and recognize. I think it was also important how you mentioned that you were listening to your body in the way that when you were exercising and you felt that feeling of I'm going to pass out, that you did go to the hospital instead of like just going home or kind of brushing it off. And so that's super important as well. And I guess my next
Yeah.
question was, what would you want other women or families to know if something doesn't feel right? What would you encourage them to do? And I think you just answered that, is listening to your body and pushing for answers.
Pushing for answers. If you're sent home, like if you go to the hospital and you're sent home, all there's a phrase I encourage women and everyone to say, and that is, I wanted to go on record that I'm still experiencing symptoms and I feel very uncomfortable being discharged at this time.
Mm.
I want it on record. And so a lot of times when you do that, they will, push back. And then sometimes they will say, well, let's just do an observation. We'll keep you overnight because they don't want, any trouble in the long run. So if you're someone that's really experiencing symptoms and you feel uncomfortable going home, because I've seen patients that have collapsed on their way out the door, after being over okay. I would definitely encourage, to give that statement that you don't feel comfortable, you want it on record, you're still experiencing symptoms, and you need something to be done.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Great advice, really. And our last couple questions kind of shift back to more of the relationship between you both. How has this journey overall shaped your relationship with each other?
Oh, wow. Well, when you see me, you see Queen. We travel a lot. We started a nonprofit back in, was it 2023, 3 years ago. And she's the VP. And so we're together a lot. And we're now bringing my 10-year-old, we're bringing her in and having her do a few things. But as far as Queen and myself, we are together, 75% of the time. Yeah. And we don't live together.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
man.
Yeah. She has her own home, but we're all together.
I think honestly, it's kind of like, especially with the nonprofit, it's kind of like made us a lot closer because I always like first thing I always hear everybody say is like, "Oh, I don't think I could ever work with my mom," and like, I mean, we had a good relationship growing up, but I never planned to be working with my mom. Like, I never planned for us to be like talking 3 times a day, but I think that it's given like us a reason to stay in contact, and then we just end up being closer because of that. Like it's giving us like a joint mission to work on something together, and I think also it's kind of helped shift our relationship.
Yes.
Where we're beginning to like recognize ourselves as like individuals, as women, rather than just like a mother-daughter relationship. Like being able to see each other as like partners in business and in our strengths and weaknesses in certain areas.
Yeah.
That's really special. I think that's a really just excellent way of describing. I think some families may not evolve into this, but almost peers in a way, like respecting, like as you mentioned, respecting each other as adults and individuals and working together. That's a really special relationship. And I guess our last question, really, to wrap up our conversation here, is if you could share one message with other mothers and daughters this Mother's Day season, what would it be?
Cherish the time that you have together. If you have any differences or any issues, try and work them out because you just never know.
I would also say just like trying to prioritize spending time together because like I said with my mom, it was literally just out of nowhere. And at the time, I felt like we weren't nearly as close as we are right now. We weren't like at odds with each other at all. Like we've never had any kind of, drama go on with our mother-daughter relationship, but it was just like I was a college student, I was working my first job, and I was just like super busy all the time. So at the time, like I wasn't really going on like mommy daughter outings and like spending a lot of time with my mom. And then it was like, okay, that could have been it. Like that could have been the end of my relationship with my mom. So I would say just spending as much time together and prioritizing maintaining a relationship with your mom or your daughter, vice versa, because you just never know what could happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thank you both. Thank you both so much for sharing your stories and your insights and talking more about your experiences. It's been really meaningful to hear your reflections. And I know that I personally love working with you both. Kina and Queen are excellent. They're just excellent professionals and champions and all of the above. So thank you both so much for sharing today. And also thank you to everyone who joined us and followed along. We're grateful to have you as a part of our virtual community. And I guess just to wrap up, as we come together in honors of Mother's Day, we're really thankful for this opportunity to reflect on stories like Queen and Keen's and to recognize the strength and the resilience and the support that so many women and families show while navigating heart disease. And we look forward to continuing to share conversations like this one throughout this month and the rest of the year so that we can continue to uplift the stories of women living with or at risk of heart disease. And so thank you again, Kina and Queen, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye.